Hubby left a note. Goodbye. Never loved you anyway, and bank fraud alerts popped up on my phone, but please stay with me as I tell my story. And please, do not forget to support our channel by subscribing to our channel, liking our videos, and sharing your loved ones. Your support means the world to us. Now to our story. Poke. He left a yellow post-it note. Not even a letter. Just goodbye. Never loved you anyway. I stood in the kitchen, still holding my morning coffee, hands shaking. My heart pounded, trying to make sense of the words. I read them again, hoping I missed something. But no, there it was, stuck to the fridge, cold and final. My husband of 9 years, the man I built my life with, had walked out without warning. I looked around. His shoes were gone. His favorite jacket, too. The drawers he used were empty, cleared out like he'd planned this for a while. My thoughts spiraled. Had there been signs? Something I missed? We had dinner together just last night. We even laughed at a show. It all felt so normal. Then my phone buzzed. I glanced down. A bank alert. Transaction of $3,200 from joint account. I blinked. Another buzz. $5,800 withdrawal from savings. My stomach dropped. I opened the banking app. The numbers were disappearing fast. My fingers trembled as I scrolled. Thousands gone in minutes. The savings we spent years building, all moving into unfamiliar accounts. I froze. This couldn't be happening. One moment I was making breakfast. The next I was watching everything vanish. The man I trusted not only left me, he was stealing from me. I felt sick. Betrayal burned hotter than any anger I'd ever known. I called the bank. They said the transfers were made online using his login. They froze the accounts, but it was too late. Most of the money had already moved. I asked if anything could be reversed. Maybe, the woman said softly, but it could take time. Time. I didn't have time. My rent was due in 10 days. I still had bills. And now I had no answers. The silence in the house felt louder than ever. It wrapped around me, cold and mocking. I thought about our wedding day, the promises, the plans, the way he used to look at me like I was his whole world. Was it all a lie? Had he always been pretending? As I sat on the couch, clutching my phone, a strange calm settled over me. It was the kind that comes when you've already lost everything and there's nothing left to fear. I didn't know why he did it or where he went, but I knew one thing. This wasn't just a goodbye. This was the beginning of something much darker. And whatever truth lay hidden beneath the surface of our life, I was about to dig it up. After the shock faded into something colder, I did what anyone would do. I started digging. My hands still trembled, but I logged back into the banking app. Something didn't sit right. The transfers weren't just going to one place. They were spread out. Different amounts. Different account numbers. It didn't make sense. I clicked through every tab I could. And that's when I saw it, a list of linked accounts. My name was attached to 5 others I'd never opened. One looked like a business account. Another was for something called Livingstone Trust. And 2 others were in banks I didn't even use. Yet there they were. My name, my birthday, even my social security number. I sat back, heart thudding. This wasn't just stealing. This was identity theft. And it was personal. I hadn't lost my wallet, hadn't been hacked. No stranger did this. It was him. I called the bank immediately. A calm man named Jason answered. I told him what I found. He paused, asked me to hold, then came back with a careful tone. Ma'am, based on our logs, it appears these accounts were opened using your credentials, but from IP addresses previously linked to your household. He didn't say it outright, but I knew what that meant. Could my husband have done this? I asked, my voice flat. Jason hesitated again. I can't confirm that, but I can tell you everything lines up with his previous logins and devices. I felt sick. It hit me then. This wasn't a decision he made last night. This wasn't some rash escape. He'd been setting this up. Slowly, methodically. He created accounts, shifted money, built a web of fake identities, all using me as the front. Maybe the vacations he took alone weren't for work. Maybe those late-night emails were more than business. My whole marriage was unraveling, and each click brought another lie to light. I opened a folder on my laptop and started saving everything. Screenshots, statements, login histories. I forwarded every email confirmation I could find to myself. I knew I had to act fast. If he could steal this much without me noticing, what else had he buried? I opened a new document and titled it Evidence. The more I collected, the angrier I got. Not just for the money, but for the way he used my trust like a tool. Like I was just a piece of paper he could sign and shred. He thought he'd get away with it. He thought I'd fall apart. But he forgot something. I still had my name. And now I was going to use it to destroy his lies, one account at a time. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, his face appeared. Not the face I knew, but one twisted by secrets I hadn't seen before. So I lay there in the dark, replaying moments like old tapes. Our vacations, holidays, his jokes, his silence. Every memory now felt like a riddle waiting to be solved. Had it all been fake? I started backtracking through our life together. The late-night conference calls, where he'd leave the room, always whispering. The way he guarded his phone, screen down every time. The months he seemed distant, only to suddenly show up with gifts, an expensive necklace, a surprise dinner. I used to see it as him making up for being busy. Now I wondered if it was guilt. One trip came to mind, New York, last spring. He said it was a weekend seminar, but when I asked about it later, he stumbled over the name of the hotel. I remember brushing it off, telling myself not to be paranoid. Trust is everything in a marriage, I had told myself. I didn't realize how blind that trust had made me. I called my best friend, Tara. She listened quietly as I poured it all out, the note, the bank fraud, the fake account. There was a pause, then her voice low and hesitant. I didn't want to say anything before, but I always felt something was off about him, she said. What do you mean? I asked, my stomach nodding. He was charming, but it never felt real. He'd say all the right things, but his eyes never matched his words. I figured it was just me being protective. I didn't want to interfere. I wished she had. But more than that, I wished I had seen it too. All those little gut feelings I ignored. The excuses I made. The way I dismissed his emotional distance as stress. Now, looking back, I realized how little I actually knew about the man I married. I knew his favorite movies, his go-to sandwich order, the brand of cologne he wore, but I didn't know where he went on those business trips. I didn't know the names tied to those fake accounts. I didn't know he was capable of vanishing and taking everything with him. The man I loved was a mask, and underneath it was a stranger. Not just someone who lied, but someone who built an entire life out of those lies, who pretended love, who used my name, my heart, and my trust as tools in some secret game. I wasn't grieving a lost husband anymore. I was hunting a fraud. I almost didn't check his laptop. It was the old one he said he didn't use anymore, shoved in the back of our closet. Something told me to look anyway. When I opened it, I expected nothing. But he had forgotten to log out of his email. What I found stopped my breath. Hundreds of emails. Messages with names I didn't recognize. Flirty, personal, and detailed. Some were dated while we were still on good terms. Others overlapped with our anniversary, holidays, even birthday. He had entire conversations with someone named Elise. Another thread with a woman named Jordan. But it was the subject line of one email that really made my stomach drop. Paris was perfect. I miss you. We never went to Paris. I clicked it open. Inside were photos. Him smiling with a woman in a red dress, standing under the Eiffel Tower, holding hands near a cafe. His arm wrapped around her waist like he belonged there. I stared at the screen, frozen. I didn't know who I was looking at anymore. Then I noticed her Instagram handle tagged in one of the messages. I clicked it. Her profile was public. Dozens of pictures with him, dating back a year. Different clothes, different cities. He commented on them all with heart emojis, calling her my love. I didn't stop there. Using reverse image search, I found another woman's blog. She had posted about a mysterious man she was dating who traveled a lot for work. There he was again in her pictures, smiling. Different name, different story. The same lie in a new package. I kept digging and found 3 more. Some from dating sites, others from social posts. Each woman had no idea about the others. All thought they were in a serious relationship. One even had a picture of an engagement ring. He had aliases. Different names for different women. Different email addresses, fake job titles, even made-up companies. He didn't just cheat. He built entire identities around his lies. I felt like I was drowning in betrayal. How many versions of him existed? How long had he been living this secret life? I thought I'd lost a husband. Now I realized I'd never had one to begin with. He wasn't just unfaithful. He was a full-blown con artist. I started taking screenshots, saving everything. Not just for me, but for them. They deserved to know too. If I was going to rebuild, I'd start by exposing every piece of the puzzle he thought he could hide. I couldn't sit still anymore. Anger had burned away the shock. If he thought he could disappear and leave me with broken promises and empty accounts, he underestimated. I was done being the victim. It was time to fight smart. I made a burner email under a fake name, Amanda Brooks. Then I created a LinkedIn profile for her. Professional headshot, polished resume, fake company, all believable. Then I used it to reach out to one of his shady business emails I'd found in the old laptop. I introduced myself as an investor looking to put money into global humanitarian ventures, the kind of vague name he always used in his shell company. He responded within a day. Polite, charming, confident. He had no idea it was me. He pitched a nonprofit, working with clean water initiatives overseas. I played along, asking for phone meetings, offering to wire a test donation. Each call I recorded. Each email I saved. I logged IP addresses and traced the login. One pinged from Florida, another from Texas. He was on the move. The deeper I went, the more fake websites I uncovered. All linked back to him. He had created donation pages that looked legitimate, but the funds rerouted to hidden personal accounts. One charity claimed to support orphanages, but the listed address was an abandoned building in Ohio. During my search, I found a forum post from a woman warning others about being ghosted by a man named Daniel Field. His face was familiar. It was him, just under a different name. I messaged her privately, told her I had information she needed. We spoke on a video call. Her name was Natalie. She'd been seeing him for months before he vanished. She said she loaned him $15,000 for a startup. He promised to pay her back in 2 weeks. That was a year ago. When I told her what I'd uncovered, she cried. Then she got quiet and said, "Let's take him down." Together, we built a shared drive. Screenshots, financial records, call logs, names, emails. Every piece became part of a growing map of fraud. We traced money movement between fake charities and shell companies registered under false names. I even found one using my maiden name. He wasn't just a liar. He was laundering money through causes meant to pull heartstrings. He wore kindness like a costume. But now we had a network. He thought he could vanish. Instead, we were pulling him into the light, one fake email at a time. I walked into the police station with a folder thicker than a textbook. Inside were printed emails, screenshots, fake business profiles, IP logs, and bank records. My hands were steady. I wasn't there to cry. I was there to make sure someone finally listened. The officer who took my report flipped through the papers, eyebrows rising higher with each page. He called in a supervisor, then a fraud specialist. Within an hour, I was sitting in a back room with 2 detectives who looked like they'd just stepped out of a true crime series. "This is a lot," one of them said. "And honestly, it's impressive. Not the crime. Your research." I didn't smile. "He's been stealing from women for years, possibly even running international scams." They nodded, agreed it looked serious. Promised they'd open an official case. But then came the part no one wants to hear. "He's not using his real name," the detective said. "And with the accounts tied to fake businesses across different states, possibly offshore, it'll take time. We need subpoenas, cross-jurisdictional cooperation. It's a process." "How long?" I asked. "Could be months just to find him. Longer to build a prosecutable case." It hit me like a punch. He could be scamming someone else right now, slipping further away while I waited on paperwork. I thanked them and left the station. My steps felt heavy, but my mind was clear. If the system moved slow, I'd find another route. That night, I transferred what was left of my untouched savings, money he hadn't stolen, into a new account. Then I called a private investigator. His name was Marcus. He sounded skeptical at first, until I explained the situation. I sent him the file I gave the police. He called me back the next morning. "I don't say this often," he said, "but this guy's slick. He's good at hiding. But I've handled worse." With Marcus on board, things moved faster. He had contacts in data recovery, legal tracing, even cybersecurity. He started following money trails through tax records, flagged aliases in online databases, checked surveillance footage at hotels tied to recent transactions. He even tracked burner phone activity based on timestamps from emails I'd collected. Each day, he fed me updates. Pieces of the puzzle came together faster than I thought possible. While the legal system creaked forward, we were already moving. He thought he'd covered every trail, but he didn't count on the one thing he couldn't fake. Marcus called me one morning with a tip that lit a fire inside me. "He's registered as a speaker at a finance conference in Miami," he said. "Goes by the name Matthew Colton. Fancy title, made-up company. But it's him." A week later, I stood outside a glass hotel tower with a press badge hanging around my neck. I'd created a fake online magazine, built a quick website, and applied as media. They let me in without question. My hands were steady, but my heart raced. I wasn't sure what I'd do until I saw him. He walked into the ballroom, smiling, confident, holding the hand of a tall blonde woman. I recognized her from a photo on one of the fake email threads, his latest fiancée. I pulled out my phone and started recording. The panel began. He introduced himself like nothing was wrong, like he hadn't left chaos behind. I waited until the moderator asked him about trust and leadership. That was my cue. I stepped forward. "Is that what you call stealing money from women and running scams under fake names?" I asked loudly. The room fell silent. His eyes locked on mine, panic rising fast. "You know me, don't you?" I said. "Or should I say, do you know how many women you've lied to?" Gasps filled the room. Phones came out. People started filming. I turned to his fiancée. "He proposed to you, right? Promised a future?" "That's funny. He told another woman the same thing last year, and another before that." Her face went pale. Security rushed over, but it was too late. The video was already uploading. Within hours, it was everywhere. "Man exposed as con artist at conference" was trending. Reddit threads dissected his lies. TikTok had stitched reactions and breakdowns. Twitter ran with screenshots from our investigation. By that night, his accounts were frozen. Every alias flagged. His companies blacklisted. People who had donated to his fake charities started demanding answers. The The damage was done. His fiancée? She walked out mid-conference. Cameras caught the moment she slapped him and dropped the ring on the floor. And me? I went home and watched the video with a strange mix of relief and quiet triumph. This wasn't about revenge, it was about truth. About every woman he fooled, every dollar he stole, every mask he wore. He wanted to vanish. Instead, the world saw him for exactly what he. After everything exploded, I expected to feel free. But freedom didn't come right away. It came slowly, like sunlight creeping through a cracked window. At first, I still woke up expecting another alert, another lie. The silence felt too loud. The emptiness of the house reminded me of what was taken, not just from my bank account, but from my life. So I started with small steps. I found a therapist who didn't just nod but truly listened. In those quiet sessions, I poured out everything I had held in: grief, shame, anger, confusion. She helped me untangle the chaos, to see that none of it was my fault. At night, I wrote. Not for anyone else, just for me. I filled notebook after notebook with memories, moments, and thoughts I hadn't had the courage to face before. Writing gave me back my voice. I hadn't even realized how long I'd been quiet. Then I packed my things and moved. I picked a city I'd only visited once but remembered loving. The coast, the breeze, the space to breathe. I got a small apartment with white walls and tall windows. It felt like starting over, and it was. One evening, I shared part of my story on a forum about emotional manipulation. I didn't expect much. But within a day, dozens of women messaged me. Some had lived through worse. Some were just beginning. They said reading my post made them feel less alone. That's when I knew this wasn't just my story. It belonged to all of us. I created a private online group, Reclaim and Rise, a place for women recovering from financial betrayal, emotional abuse, or both. At first, it was just a handful of us sharing our stories. But word spread. More people joined. We talked about red flags, rebuilding credit, setting boundaries. We healed together. I invited guest speakers, therapists, legal advisors, digital safety experts. I wrote blog posts and guides, simplified and honest. No shame, just support. What started as survival became purpose. One morning, a woman messaged me. Your words helped me leave. Thank you. I cried reading that. Not because I was sad, but because I finally felt useful again. Peace didn't arrive like thunder. It came gently, when I realized I could laugh without guilt. When I walked through my neighborhood without scanning faces. When I looked in the mirror and saw strength where I once saw ruin. He stole my past, but I reclaimed my future. And for the first time in years, I was truly alive. 6 months had passed since the day everything unraveled. Life had slowly stitched itself back together, piece by piece. I was stronger now, more confident. The pain was still there, like a scar, but it didn't control me anymore. I had a community of women who supported each other, and I'd found peace in the work I was doing. But then, one quiet afternoon, it happened. An email pinged into my inbox. The subject line was simple. I'm sorry. I froze. For a moment, I didn't know if I wanted to scream, laugh, or just delete it. It had to be him, right? I clicked it open and saw his name, Daniel Fields. The words were predictable. I'm sorry for everything I did. I was wrong. I've changed. I've been working on myself. I've realized how badly I hurt you. Can we talk? It was all the right words. He was trying to manipulate me again, trying to worm his way back into my life. I almost felt disgusted reading it. 6 months of silence, and now, when he had nowhere to hide, he thought he could pull me back in with some heartfelt apology? The nerve. I sat back and thought for a moment. What was the best response? Part of me wanted to rip into him, to tell him how much pain he had caused, but then something clicked. He didn't deserve even a moment of my time. He wasn't worth my words. Instead, I typed one line. I'm not the woman you left. I'm the one who exposed you. I hit send. Then, without hesitation, I posted a screenshot of his email to my social media followers. I knew this could stir the pot, but I didn't care. This wasn't about me anymore. It was about making sure no one else fell for his lies. I watched as the post spread like wildfire. The responses flooded in, comments, shares, people tagging others who had experienced similar things. My followers rallied behind me, once again. It didn't take long before the backlash hit him. The screenshots I posted were picked up by larger platforms, Reddit, Twitter, and news outlets. His apology turned into his undoing. People recognized his name. The comments rolled in, and within hours, his reputation was shattered all over again. This time, he wasn't just facing me, he was facing the world. His phone started buzzing with notifications, his inbox filling with messages calling him out. He tried to delete his accounts, but it was too late. He was doxxed. Every fake profile he had, every scam he'd run, every lie he'd told, was now exposed for all to see. No one would trust him anymore. The damage he'd done to himself was irreparable. And as for me, I wasn't the woman he had walked away from. I was stronger now. I had no time for his empty words. I was done with him forever. He left with a note. I leave with a book. That thought stayed with me as I sat in my new apartment, staring at the final chapter one had just typed. The cursor blinked, waiting, like it knew the story wasn't over. But in a way, it was not his version of it. Mine. He took my time, yes. 9 years of marriage. He took trust and money. But he didn't take me. Not the core of who I am. For a long time, I believed closure meant justice. That he'd be behind bars. That I'd get every cent back. That he'd suffer as I did. But real closure isn't loud like that. It doesn't explode in courtroom. It settles like dust after a storm. Healing wasn't a straight line. Some days I felt strong. Other days I couldn't get out of bed. But every step forward, no matter how small, was mine. I owned it. And that's the thing no one tells you. Recovery is not about proving anything to anyone else. It's about reclaiming the parts of you that you forgot existed. There's something strange about pain. It teaches you. Quietly, ruthlessly, and sometimes beautifully. I learned how to set boundaries. I learned that my intuition wasn't broken. It had just been silenced. I learned that even when you're betrayed, you're still whole. Maybe cracked, but never shattered. People often ask if I regret the years. I used to say yes immediately. But now, no. Those years weren't a waste. They were the fire I walked through. They forged the version of me that exists now. Fierce, clear, unapologetically honest. It's ironic, isn't it? He wanted to erase me with that note, 5 cold words. But in trying to erase me, he accidentally wrote the prologue to my real story. I've met others like me now. Survivors of betrayal, fraud, and manipulation. We've shared stories that echo each other. Same patterns, same pain. And we've all come to the same truth. You don't rise by dragging them down. You rise by stepping over the wreckage with your head held high. So no, I didn't get everything back. Not the money, not the exact number of years. But I got clarity, purpose, self-respect. I got my life. And that's worth more than anything he took. He left with a post-it note. I leave with a book. And my story, it's just getting started.